Syndicated columnist George Will, USA Today columnist Kirsten, Jason Riley of the Wall Street Journal, and Fox News political analyst Juan Williams. Welcome to you all. George, I'll start quickly with you. Your reaction to the latest out of Brussels and how this administration is strategizing with regard to ISIS.
Well, the administration sort of tramped on its own good news, and it was very good news that the administration killed a high-level operative in a way that indicated astonishingly good intelligence capabilities on the part of our forces. I think these attacks have now raised a question that reframes the debate about ISIL. That is, how important is the existence of the caliphate, so-called, the existence of the territory they hold, important to them? A, because it gives ISIL charisma that helps them recruit, and B, because perhaps the logistics help it conduct operations like this. To the extent that we conclude that the existence of that territorial control is crucial, that frames the mission, and the mission is to take back the territory. And the Europeans, because they are the targets of this, ought to bear a considerable military responsibility.
Jason, I see you chomping at the bit there.
I think George is right. We have been making some progress militarily. High-ranking ISIS officials are being taken out. Territory that was gained by the terrorists in Iraq and Syria is being retaken. But at the same time, ISIS is able to carry out attacks on major European cities, seemingly at will. They're winning the PR campaign, and when it comes to recruitment, perception is what matters most. And I think the chairman got right to the point, which is that this administration continues to have a policy of containing ISIS, not eliminating it. It's not that we don't have the capability to do this, we lack the political will to do it.
And Kirsten, the president has taken some heat over perception, as Jason was talking about in another context, but about his trips and what he was doing this week. But he has long stood by this, as others in the Republican camp have as well, that you move on with your life or they win.
Right, and I also think you heard the congressman saying, well, he was hanging out in Cuba. This characterizing a state visit as some sort of, like, you know, boondoggle or something. I mean, the president had a planned visit to go there. He's trying to reestablish
a very controversial one.
Controversial, but it's still his prerogative to do, and it's not something that you cancel at the last minute. And the president does believe that you do go on with your life. And in terms of dancing, you know, as you even said on Friday, he tried to not dance with her repeatedly. And you know, I mean, it's not as though he's like, oh, I'm going to go to Cuba and I'm going to tango. That wasn't exactly the plan. I think the golfing thing also, I've long said the president should be allowed to golf. If it's how he blows off steam or, you know, enjoys it, good for him. He works all the time.
One final word on this to you.
Well, I think, you know, on the optics are politics, and they don't look good for President Obama on this if you put it together. I think that it's largely, though, coming from Republicans who want to portray him as weak in fighting the war on terror. The one counterpoint is I think the terrorists do want to goad us into an overreaction, and the overreaction is to draw us into another long-term effort in the Middle East. And I think that would be, you know, very difficult to do. We are fighting a guerrilla war in terms of what Jason said. It's hard to stop these isolated cells.
They certainly have an apocalyptic mission, and they do want to draw us in there. All right, thanks, panel.